Welcome everyone to our webinar on exploring Hinduism for teens and parents. Our special guests are Dr.D.K.Hari and Dr.D.K.Hema, wonderful faculty at Hindu University of America. And we're going to get into it because a lot of folks are asking, what are we doing for our youth? How do we prepare our young people in the Hindu knowledge systems, give them the resources they need, the confidence and the clarity, so that we can be strong Hindus, or just Hindus who are, again, confident and clear about our belief systems and where we come from and all of that. So as somebody born in Los Angeles, I went through it and I love the Haris and how they present so much information in a easy to understand, interesting way. And so the question is, can teenagers and parents explore Hinduism together? And at HUA, we believe we can, and we're committed to creating learning spaces that include both parents and teenagers, right? Create those intergenerational conversations, creates new spaces, new dialogues. And I think it's so important for us to build these spaces. It's part of the ecosystem and the continuity that we need to have. So with that, let me give our Dr. Hari's a quick introduction and we'll get into this presentation. But so let's start with Dr. D.K. Hari. He's actually from a traditional Indian family from Kanchipuram. He went to the prestigious Rishi Valley School, graduated from Madras Christian College, post-graduation business administration. He had a 20-year career in managing his family business in verticals, including oil and gas. But it was in that space that he developed his brand and sales and marketing background in bona fides, and he's bringing that with to Hindu University of America. And then we also, of course, have Dr. D.K.Hema Hari, who's born in Mysore, grew up in Bombay, double graduate in physics and computer technology from Bombay University, and her 20-year career was in information technology, managing innovation, nurturing new technologies, consulting, mentoring, business development. And then she got to travel widely to many countries within India and internationally. And so they actually met, our Dr. D.K. Hari and Dr. Hema Hari. I don't know exactly when you met, but you went to Sri University together where you got your doctorates. And it's there that you started the Bharat Nyan Initiative in civilizational studies back in the year 2000. And since then, you have built an amazing encyclopedia, access, archive of information and knowledge that has an interdisciplinary approach to researching from a Hindu perspective. And it provides an integrative narrative of the Indian civilization. And you've been able to build this into several courses at Hindu University of America. I know we started with one course and now we've expanded out to several, and I think you're going to get into it. And there's just so much information and the feedback. And oftentimes you have 100 students in your quarter. Hopefully this summer quarter is going to be another strong one where people join and interact and learn and engage in this important topic, exploring Hinduism for teens and parents. Glad that we are able to offer this. And so let me hand it off to the Haris who can get into their presentation. Yeah, thank you. And yeah, we ask you to unmute.
Yeah, thank you, Shankur Patel, for your very nice introduction. It's always a pleasure to be interacting with different members of Hindu University America in the different webinars that we do every quarter, and each time the enthusiasm with which our friend Shankur Patel brings up the points for the particular webinar is so nice. It gives us the enthusiasm, as they say in India, it gives us the enthu to take it forward. Thank you so much. Today's webinar is going to be the subject of the history and geography of the Hindus. That's what we're going to see for the next few minutes. It's a very interesting subject. Can you shift that here? Yes, can you shift that? One second. Yeah, we'll speak about for the next few minutes about this subject, the history and geography of the Hindus. We'll just screen share. as he so rightly mentioned, the name of the course is Exploring Hinduism. And it's for teens, because, I'd like to add one more word to it, not just teens, parents and grandparents too, if you would like. The reason is because we have instances in our course for the last 8 quarters where the grandchildren are able to connect with their grandparents across continents, across time zones. Because so that's a way of bonding among the family, discussing about our culture, our civilization, and this course of ours has been one of the instruments in that about which we're very happy about. So that's what the idea is: exploring Hinduism for teens, parents, and grandparents across 3 generations. That's been the beauty of it.
And this exploring Hinduism, the reason we called it exploring Hinduism, because Hinduism as such is more than just a religion alone. It is a continuum. We often speak about it as a way of life. That is true, but it also is a continuum, and which is very beautifully expressed through the word Sanatana Dharma. And this continuum, the Sanatana Dharma, it spans across so many aspects. First, starting with the biggest and foremost question about who we are. But to know the answer to that, you have to know everything else to be finally able to come to an understanding of ourselves. And so the starting would then be, where did we take birth as a civilization? So the geography, the history, and why are we the kind of people we are? Because of the place that we have been nurtured in. That really plays a lot of significance in our thought. So that is a very important aspect. So if you have to understand the nuances of the Hindu culture, you have to first understand the nuances of the land where it was born. That shapes.
Where it was nurtured. She used a very nice word. The land where the civilization was nurtured, where the geography and history intertwined. Because normally we think of geography as just 2 different subjects in our school. The social studies subjects, we think of it in grade 6 to grade 8, grade 9 as distinct subjects. But if you see, in our civilization, they're very intertwined. That's what we'll be seeing through this course as we go along 10 sessions.
So, and in this intertwining, you will find that there is a history to the geography as well. And there is a geography to the history. So the history cannot float alone. It is about a particular geography and the people who have lived there. So that is where we will start with geography and history. And we have to then understand things like, what did we do in this land? See, geography is not just about the land. It is about the features, the topography, and the resources therefore that is there in this land. But more importantly, how did this civilization use these resources? How did they sustain these resources? So what are the valuable lessons we can learn from this method with which the Hindus have leveraged their geography well? So these are some of the things. So that comes out when you look at their industry, you look at their trade, how did they practice their trade? And for all of this, navigation is a must. And if navigation is needed for trade, then there are a lot of sciences which back the art of navigation. You need astronomy, you need about geography, you need about maps,
geometry,
you need about carpentry and other things to build the ships. So shipwrights, shipbuilding, building shipyards, so many. And then, of course, the act of actually trading. So all of that, and therefore, how did all this shape the society we live in? And the society also therefore developed different sciences, especially if you have to trade, navigate, go across overseas and all of that, you need to understand seasons, so timekeeping, then that leads to festivals. So all of this, then the education, languages, ethos, the entire panorama, gamut of various aspects of life and living is what forms Hinduism. So when you say it's a way of life, it spans across all of this. And finally, you realize from all of this, when you study this, you get a feeling for the ethos of the civilization. And from there, you will find your own answers for who you are. So that is what we hope to lead you to in this series of courses on exploring India.
Because one of the key questions is philosophically, spiritually, and as a matter of fact, who am I? Isn't it? So to understand this who am I, you must go through the whole circle. You can't understand, try to fathom who am I without knowing all these things. This is what we bring out in our course.
And for this, we are therefore, like we said, we are going to start with geography and history. And this summer, we are going to be looking at give a focused attention on understanding the geography and history of this civilization. So to start here, let us first look at how this civilization had discerned geography itself. Okay.
Just give me a moment to go to the slide. See, when we talk about geography, what do we call it in Indian thought? Bhu, that is earth. Shastra, science, is the science of earth, is what we call geography. Very simply. And if you look at that, till as recently as 500 years ago, till Galileo's time in Europe, they thought that the earth was flat. Isn't it? Although the earth was flat, that's a flat earth theory. And a priest cried out in the court of law when Galileo said, no, the earth is round. He said, how is it possible for the earth to be round? Because if the earth is round, if it's a ball, then what will happen to the people who are on the lower half of the earth? That's where the Leaning Tower of Pisa is. Obviously, all of you know that. And that's where Italy is. So if earth is round, the people at the bottom of the earth will fall down.
So this was the view of the priests when they ridiculed Galileo, when he said the earth is round. And this was the kind of talk that was going on 500 years ago.
As recently in Europe. So that was the time when so you can't have a South Pole like this. People heading upside down, not possible as it. So whereas if you look at India, we call it Bhu-loka. Bhu-shastra, we call it Bhu-loka. And we don't say it's Bhu-flat or Bhu-cone or Bhu-cube or Bhu-cylindrical. What do we call it? What do we call the subject itself? As Bhu-gola. Gola means round. Goal, that's what you have an ice cream also, gola, right? So we call the subject itself science of the round earth. So we did not call it flat earth, but we call it a round earth. So the term Bhu-shastra is a science. Bhu-loka is a land where people inhabit. That's why the loka means where people live. That's why location, locale, locomotive. Look at the word loka. So Bhu-loka is where people live. Humans live, animals live, plants live, creatures live. And what is it? That is Bhu-gola. Because it is round. It's not Bhu-flat. It's not Bhu-tatta. It's not Bhu-triangle. It's not Bhu-cylindrical. It's Bhu-gola. So the very name of it, what do we call it? We call it Bhu-gola, isn't it? So that is the beauty. So that's science, absolutely, if you look at it.
We'll just play a short film about this. See, our courses, we're just trying to give you a taste of how our typical courses are. So we speak about the subject, then we show you small films that we have on the topic. And right now I'm going to play one for you. Yes.
India has always attracted thousands of travelers through time and age. However, seekers of knowledge to the lands of mystery and ancient. When Galileo stated Earth was round, little did he know that a good 1,000 of years before him, the Indian scholar Aryabhatta had already mentioned this clearly in his book Aryabhatya, written in 499 CE. Aryabhatta and another scholar Brahmagupta went further on to correctly state that the earth rotates on its axis and revolves around the sun. Something that finds a mention even in the Lakanic Veda, which was written between 3141 to 3120 BCE, what the world called geography, known as Bhu-shastra, is in India. Bhu, the Sanskrit word for earth, and Shastra, science. In 1030 CE, a scholar who came to India wrote of his amazement about India's vast knowledge in geography in his magnum opus book Kitab-ul-Hind. The ancient Indian scholars knew that the science of the earth extended way beyond the earth itself and included the atmosphere. Lalacharya, in his work Shishyadi Vritti Tantra, speaks of the 7 atmospheric layers as Vaha, Pravaha, Udvaha, Samvaha, Suvaha, Parivaha, and Paravaha. Thousands of years later, modern science recognized these as troposphere.
So you see that how we looked at Earth very clearly as Bhugola. So that tells you. So from this we go on to one more point. We'll go on to one more point to this from here. We just show you one more slide, please. We're just sharing screen. Just a moment. Look at this. We not only spoke about geography as Bhushastra, but we knew what was happening inside the earth. That is geology. And what did we call it? Bhugarbha Shastra, because the word Garbha means inside the womb. So when a lady is pregnant, what do you say? When a mother is pregnant, what do you say? Garbha.
Garbhavati.
Garbhavati, Garbhini, isn't it like that? So inside the womb of the earth, what is happening? That also we studied. So we knew the surface of the earth and the atmospheric layer, and we also know something inside the earth. So amazing. So we had a clear 2 different sciences. Of course, in this course, we'll be looking more at the Bhushastra science. Now, having said all this, we look at something. We'll just take a small story from our.
So yeah. So what you see here is that we knew geography and geology as sciences, which also means that we would have definitely known about the geographical features of our own land. We would have known about the extent. We would have known about the boundaries. We would have given proper names. So all of this is what will come under the vast expanse called geography. We would have earmarked and identified the resources and given them the right name suitable to what it is either doing or what are its characteristics. So that is something we will see. But today, yeah.
So we will see all that in the course about India. The Bhushastra of India is part of the course content which you'll be seeing in the course. So today we're going to show you something that we will not be touching in the course.
So when we say India here, we mean the Bharat Varsha, which has been the land where this civilization was nurtured. The Hindu civilization was actually took root and also was nurtured for across millennia.
The subcontinent of India, the Indian subcontinent, which makes up today 7, 8 political countries. That's what we speak about, Indian subcontinent, when we speak about from the geography perspective.
Since we are going to be doing that, we thought we'll show you something different here today, which is connected with the knowledge of geography of this civilization. A very, very interesting piece of information.
It's a science knowledge. So if we knew so much about the geography that the earth was round, and if we know in detail geography of the land, which we're going to deal with in our course, we're going to do something about how they knew about the geography of a place almost across the continent.
And that is about the river Nile.
Today we see the next 15-20 minutes about the Nile River. And the Nile River, if you look at the word Nile, you look at it as a, if you look at the word Nile, can anybody say, is there an Indian connect to it? Anybody would like to put on the chat box about an Indian connect to the Nile River? In the very name of the river Nile, the word Nile is an English word. It's an Anglican word. The Egyptian word is Nile. Even now in Egypt language, they call it Nile because it is blue. And that's why you call the Nile itself a blue Nile, isn't it? You call it a blue Nile. So it's just like saying blue. So from the pharaonic times, for many millennia, we always were not sure where the Nile River started flowing, because it was the lifeline of the pharaonic civilization, of the pharaohs, of the Egyptian civilization here in Egypt. From the Aswan Dam area onwards, from where you had Abu Simbel, from here, all the way. This was the Egypt civilization. At best, it went up to Sudan and went up to Khartoum. But beyond that, where the Nile River started, nobody knew, because it's a huge desert here. So people don't be able to fathom through it. So
see, one very interesting fact about the river Nile is this river flows from south to north. It originates in the south and flows in this direction because the sea is here and that incline is in this direction, and it flows this way and joins the Mediterranean Sea. And you had this Egyptian civilization flourishing at the mouth of the river Nile.
For many millennia.
But for thousands of miles beyond Egypt are just desert sand. So they were wondering, where is this Nile coming from? They could never explore all that way.
Because how can you have such a large river flowing from a desert? That was an enigma for the Egyptians, people, the so-called Egyptologists. It was a big enigma. This was one person who actually wanted, who was a leader, who tried to do, who did the expedition of the Nile River. He wanted to go find the source of the Nile River and go upstream of the Nile River to identify, and he went up to the Lake Tanganyika. He went up to there to identify the source of the river. This is what he did, Sir Richard.
And when he identified this lake, he said this is the source of the river Nile.
And here is a strong India connection which we'll be dealing with in the course.
And this Sir Richard Francis Burton, if you see, he had served as a lieutenant in East India Company. Now he was a very multifaceted person. He was multilingual.
See, this Richard Burton is not to be mistaken with the Richard Burton of the 1950s and 60s, was a famous film star of Hollywood. Okay? So this is probably a few centuries early, at least a century before then.
1800s.
So a century before that. So probably the Richard Burton that you know in 1950s and 60s was named after Sir Richard Burton.
So this Burton, Richard Francis Burton, Sir Richard Francis Burton, he was multilingual, he was an explorer, he was a writer, he was an undercover military spy for the British as well. And he has done one very fascinating thing. He has translated the Arabian Nights from Arabic into English.
Which I'm sure many of you would have read or at least heard of or browsed through.
So being multilingual, he could do this. And this person, he had traced it to Tanganyika. But in 1844, the British Indian Army then, they commissioned this person, John Hanning Speke, who was also in the Indian Army, to go and identify the source of Nile River, because Egypt was also under the British and they wanted to identify the source. See, one thing that the British did, they have a lot of records of the geography of India, about the geography of Egypt. They did a lot of exploration. When they came to colonize, there was one part which was all this army and the administrators. There were also a lot of explorers, archaeologists, and so many other such people who forayed into the land and then started learning and documenting it in the English language, which we can read today and then talk about, besides leveraging our own indigenous knowledge, which you will see they have leveraged. See, here we are saying he discovered or rediscovered. Why are we using this word? Rediscovered the source of life.
That's just 150 years back. That's all, not very far back. Just 150 years back. That's when they rediscovered it. Now let's go back a little bit.
Because what did this John Hanning do? Before going on his expedition, he discussed about his expedition local scholars in Varanasi.
Now look at that. For doing expedition in Africa, whom is he consulting? The Sanskrit scholars of Varanasi.
And he didn't go and just casually talk about it. It was not an incidental or an accidental chance meeting where he mentions. We will see that. He go to them, we'll see it later. But he goes specifically to consult them, and he finds to his surprise that they gave him the name, the source, and the geography of time. And where did they get it from? The Indian tradition. traditional text called the Purana.
Which is historical text of this land, isn't it? So that's what they did from where a far away river across the continent. Look at it. That's what coming out to you. This is a few minutes, Ankur, this is something interesting. Just come on, please.
So the Pandit explains so fine, but is there any issue, Ankur?
Well, one of the things is your connection isn't so strong.
Good?
You're okay. The audio is coming out all right. Maybe if you turn off your video for a little bit and let the internet set, we can at least hear you a little more clearly.
Oh, okay, sure. Video.
Yeah, sorry about that, everyone. But this is an amazing presentation. The slides really describe it, and hopefully we can get a better audio. Did they just disconnect, or are they still on? Participants. Oh, they just disconnected and reconnected. Well, yeah. So exploring Hinduism for teens and parents, and as you can see, the geographical connections are so deep, and there's so much history that in a webinar we're not going to get into all the details. But the Haris are doing a pretty interesting job of relating facts and information. And if you have questions, please put it in the Q&A box, and we will get to those shortly. I'm not sure exactly how long the presentation is, but we're only at 9:26. We have a good half hour more, so we'll be able to take your questions. Yeah.
We'll just.
I hope you're back. You can see the screen now.
Can you be good?
It's okay. The audio is still a little choppy, but I think it might clear up. The presentation is not up yet, though.
Okay.
And if you have any videos you want to share, you can,
come.
yeah. And if you have any specific videos you want to share, you can send them to me, and I will share them. I think my internet connection will be a little stronger.
Okay. Sure.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Sure. Maybe just one moment.
Just stop and come back. Give us a moment. We'll just come back.
Just switch to this.
Yeah, and if you have taken a course, one of the Hari's courses, why don't you put it in the chat? And maybe also, where are you zooming in from? I didn't do that earlier. I'm in Los Angeles. It's always nice to see where people are joining us from. This Hindu University of America is a global platform for Hindus. And again, as I said in the introduction, it's so important to build that intergenerational connection and knowledge base. So these kinds of courses are great. Mutya ji from Chennai, welcome. Vishali ji, thank you. Just put a W in there, but I don't want to guess. Sai ji from Ohio, great. San Francisco area, is that Vishali ji? Yes. Mumbai, Vanshika ji, Dr. Sesha ji from California. Of course, Ram Gupta ji, glad to have you from Boston. Shayla ji, South Carolina. Right, Vikram ji, I know you've taken courses. We're gonna have some student testimonials actually, and maybe I could read one of them right now while we get set up. I have one of them, and I actually got a great video actually. Let me share, you're trying to get the sharing going. Let me share a quick, from Vedika ji. Unless Vedika ji is here, I can read her testimonial. Is Vedika ji here? If you are, maybe you want to raise your hand. Let's see, is Vedika here? Okay, so I'll read Vedika's testimonial real quick. It's a nice one. So Vedika ji has, and I'll kind of read it in her voice, not her voice, but try to read it. So my twin daughters and I had the great opportunity to take the courses exploring Hinduism and Hindu contributions to the world in the realm of matter. And they learned extensively about the Hindu civilization. Exploring Hinduism taught us to view Hinduism scientifically. We received answers to questions from scriptures, quotes, and references from Shastras, and learned that they were written by highly advanced professionals. The curiosity of how the universe came into existence, what and who I am, how did we evolve as a civilization, the knowledge of metals, the calendar. We actually understood the deeper and right meanings and reasons of the days we celebrate. So much was taught. My heartfelt gratitude to Hema ji and Hari ji for patiently answering our questions. The time ceased to exist during the classes as everyone was involved and interested. Even my 7-year-old would wait for the class to start and pay attention during the lesson. And that is a testimonial, a brief one from Vedika ji. So that is beautiful to see. And we have a lot of these testimonials. and maybe I'll get into a couple more. Vikramji from Phoenix, Sonali from Bangladesh, Gujarat, Manisha ji, welcome. Sridhar from North Carolina, Sandhya Desai ji from New Jersey, Vanshika Jain also taking the courses. We'll give maybe another second. Are you back, Hema ji? All right, I got.
Yes, we are back.
We are back.
Yes, we
All
are back.
right, great.
Yes,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
What a great
thank you
testimonial
for
that was, though, with the twins and the 7-year-olds. There's so many
Thank you.
stories like this. I think you've had hundreds of students, right? I know in some of the courses, quarters, you've had
Lovely.
over
It's
100
been
students
lovely
in
teaching
one.
them.
Yeah. So let me hand it
Yes.
back to you. Go ahead.
So we just talking about the Nile River, and yes, thank you. So I hope you're able to see the screen now.
Just loading.
So we talked about the Nile River.
Okay, so we will keep reading as it loads. So the pundits that the spec went to, they explained to him that the source of Nile were two peaks called the Somagiri mountains. The Somagiri, Giri means mountain, Soma means moon. Moon mountains, that there are twin peaks of Moon Mountain. Go there, that is where the source of the Nile is. And what do they call the river? They call the river Great Krishna. See, there is already a river Krishna in the Indian subcontinent, and they're also calling Nile as Krishna. Why so? Because the color of Nile, as we saw earlier, is Nile, is blue. And what is blue? Blue is, or blue and black are very closely connected. So dark Krishna is also dark blue. It's dark. Blue is dark. In Hindi, normally for somebody dark, you say Neel. So Neel and this, and then they call it as Kushadvipa. And they say from a great lake in Chandrasthan. That is how they define the source. And there is also one more source in the Bhavishya Purana, where they say that the celebrated river takes rise from the lake Amara in the region of Somagiri.
Look at that. So multiple Puranas speak about this river, Nile, starting in a moon mountain. That's the beauty. See, look at this. So the geography is not limited to India in our historical text, the Purana, but also speaks about across continents. Now look at this. In the native African tongue of many centuries ago, what do they call that land from where the Nile River starts?
Unyamuzi, I hope I pronounced it right, which is called the country of moon. Or they also call it Amara, the country of moon. Lake of immortality, which is the mountain of the moon.
Look at that. Mara, Amara. Amara means what? Immortal. Look at this context across two continents in naming. So
this Peck, based on his discussion with the Indian Pandits in Varanasi, he drew a map of the region and he started looking for a larger lake beyond the lake Tanganyika and for the real source of the river Nile. And he writes about this himself in his book. And so he says that he gave me an interesting paper with a map attached to it about the Nile. And this was written by Lieutenant Wilford from the Purans of the ancient Hindus. And so it is remarkable that the Hindus have christened the source of the Nile Amara, which is the name of a country at the northeast corner of the Victoria Nyanza. This, I think, shows clearly that the ancient Hindus must have had some kind of communication with both the northern and southern ends of the Victorian Nyanza.
So what are we talking about here? How the knowledge that of this land was across continents, across millennia to know of the source of the Nile River.
And this Lieutenant Wilford, so this is actually the map that
he draws after discussions with the scholars to come to where the Nile River source is. So if the geography of ours is so great that we can speak about a faraway river, a major river of the world was known millennia ago, this is a hardly known fact, isn't it? Like that, then imagine how much of geography is there with us in our land.
And this spec, so this is why, he I remember we told you that he comes specifically to consult the Pandits in Varanasi in the 1800s, because in 1792, this Lieutenant Colonel Francis Wilford, who was a member of the Indian Survey for the
Because they have
British.
surveyed India, so they got a lot of records.
So he gives abundant evidence proving that ancient Indians had colonized and settled in Egypt. And he gives a lot of description, and it is his writing, which we saw just a few minutes ago, which induces Speck to come to Varanasi and speak to the Pandits and thus go on and discover the river Nile.
So just a nice story I want to tell you in this class, because we want to say something different and unique to show that how this knowledge, the geography of the Hindu civilization was certainly not limited only to the political boundaries of Bharatavarsha, but actually stretched all over the world. Because when you say Bhugola, that means we knew about the whole land. That's the beauty of it. So we not only knew about the land of Bharatavarsha and Bharatakanda, which we'll see the differentiation we'll see in the course, but we knew about places which are 90 degrees away on the earth. That is the beauty of it. So we will be talking all about all these places in the sessions as we go along. Like this, we'll take up nice tidbits. We just showed you one tidbit very quickly for about 5 times, albeit there was a hiccup in the middle. But for that, which like this, we'll take up nice points, develop it through the course of the 10 sessions about different aspects of both the history, the geography, and the intertwining of the two. That's what we will see. Okay, we just take one more point here to speak about the geography.
So this is how they have through the millennia, one of the ways in which the map of Bharatvarsha was explained, where you have China here, Cambodia here, then you have Parshva, that is the Persian land, Gandhara, Matsya, then you have Ratnakara Sagara here, the Indian Ocean. So the West Indian Ocean, the East Indian Ocean is there. We also find that there are names like Dadi Sagar. Then there are words like Vanga, the Bay of Bengal, which is called Vanga, and why it is called that. These are various interesting aspects. You see, none of the names that the Hindus have attributed to their geography is without any meaning.
There's a cause, there's a meaning, there's a reason, there's a source. We look at each one of them as Shankur had some time back read the testimonials, where we try to take up each aspect, look at them with the meaning.
And we will see one such land which has been named very appropriately. We'll just see a short film for that.
For sure, just
That comes here only. Yeah.
See here, look at this land of Tibet. The actual name is Tibet is again a very anglicized name in the geography of this land, originally called Trivishtam. Let's look at that for a moment. We'll show you a film, but look at how the earth looks from sky here, and how this land looks. We'll explain this bit to you now over a short film. But just observe this area, why this land came to be called Trivishtam. Just show you a short film, just a couple of minutes, less than 2-minute film.
The land to the north of Himalayas is called Tibet. Tibet is called Trivishtam in Sanskrit language. How did Tibet get its name?
The Indian plate, slowly moving northwards in the remote past, hit the Asian plate many million years ago. When it hit the Asian plate, it created a crumple. What came of this crumple is a massive range of mountains. This crumpled mountain range stretched from Tehran in Iran in the west to Hanoi in Vietnam in the east. This is what we now call the Himalayan range. This impact had created 3 crumple zones in this Himalayan range. The lower range is known as Shivalik, where life exists in abundance. The middle range is known as Mahabharat, the great range that encapsulates the northern borders of the land of Bharat. The third and the highest range is called Himalaya, always covered in snow.
Because of these three layers or crumpled zones, the flat land on the other side of the Himalayas came to be called Trivishtab, meaning the thrice folded land. This word Trivishtab got anglicized and became Tibet. We thus see that this land Tibet had a scientific name, Trivishtab, from a geological happening.
So you see how this one map that we showed, this one image we showed you. I'll just show you back the same image I showed you 1 minute back. Just give me a moment. Let's see this image now. Now, after that, are we sharing screen? 1 moment, please. Now, this image, are you able to see our screen now? Good. Now, do you make sense of this land of Tibet after seeing the film? How this is a crumpled zone and this is a flat land here on top of Himalaya. We don't have this perspective. So this is a geography. And unless you understand the geology, the Bhugarbha Shastra, you will not be able to understand the geography. So when we say the history and geography of the Hindu civilization, it covers a whole gamut of both the geography, Bhushastra, Bhuloka, Bhugola, Bhugarbha Shastra, and the areas which are to the west, east, north, and south of this land. So it's we encapsulate all these things and present to our colleagues here in this course as capsules. 10 capsules, each of about 100 minutes, so that you can easily digest it. And it also comes with a lot of reading material for you. That's what it's. So look at the beauty of this land of Bharata with Tibet as its crowning glory. And why the name? Because Tibet is obviously an Anglican name. Why the name, the original name is, Indian name is Trivishtab, and why this name came about? It's a geological meaning.
And likewise, we will also see so many reasons for why this civilization is called Bharatiya civilization. Why did we get the name Bharat? So these are the kind of aspects that we will go into, and all of this fundamentally also lead to the various forms of history that we have been keeping, and how did all this history get reduced to mythology? When? What was the reason? So what is the real truth is what we will see in the first of the series of courses, because as we said, there are so many aspects that we have to cover in the continuum, and therefore the exploring Hinduism as such, we have kind of brought it into various different courses, one dealing with the geography and history.
Which is what we'll be offering now this summer.
In summer 2022. Then we will explore about the divinities and the dharma.
Which will be a future quarter.
And cosmology and calendar, which will include about the timekeeping of why do we have the Indian calendar. And sometimes, especially as youngsters, many of them get puzzled when they see that some of the festivals of the Hindus, they keep changing dates year on year. They don't come on the same date every year. Why is it so? As per the Gregorian English calendar. So how can they explain that to their friends? So all of that will be covered in this cosmology and calendar. Then society and culture itself. So how do we understand the caste system, the gender balance in the Hindu society? Because we always say that we have had divinities who are women. So and we say that therefore the society had treated its women on par with divinity. So what was the gender balance? How did it get disrupted? So is what we will get into over here. Then we come to therefore the contributions to the world. Because always we hear that people came seeking this land. And what did they come for? For a lot of contributions in the realm of matter, material, and in the realm of mind. So then again, we look at it further into 4 different courses. So this way, and then we'll keep on coming up with more and more to satiate your curiosity and your thirst as well, and our eagerness to share more than anything.
So like that, so this is the course we're doing now this summer, Exploring Hinduism for Teens and Parents, on geography and history of the Hindu civilization, the Indian civilization. And as we said in the beginning, it's for teens, parents, and grandparents to bring the family together, so that these are points of discussion and bonding time among the family members across continents, across time zones.
So everybody can come on the same page and discuss about their roots and identities and their culture from a very common perspective. You may ask, I mean, is this necessary at all for today's youngsters? Because not just the Hindu youngsters, this is something that is very relevant for people all across the world. Because if you see, this is one of the most ancient and living civilization which has had sustained prosperity for millennia. So there is something that this civilization has done well and good. So what is it? And we see that people have searched for this land from all over, and which is why you find people, I mean, places like West Indies, East Indies, Indonesia, Indigo.
And you have Red Indians, the Native Americans, who are also called Red Indians, because it was India-centric world. That's why we got the Indians all over, not just in India. So that's a perspective. Here there's a question from, I think, a person by name Toshan. I think Mr. Ankur Patel will respond to that. Yes, this is a course being offered now, starting from mid-July.
So this is relevant to almost anybody who would like to see a sustained world in the future. And all this calls for confidence and dare. Because once you learn of this, you should also get the confidence and dare to put these sustainable thoughts into practice and therefore be more relevant. So with these few words, we will hand it back to Ankur, and we'll be happy to take questions.
Any questions, please?
Yeah, wonderful. I love it. I haven't taken any of your courses, but I think I'm going to have to. This is amazing. And it's so interesting. The testimonials are beautiful as well. I have another one I wanted to play, but we'll take some of your live questions. So the course will cost this quarter, it will be, is it $200 a quarter? I'm at the wrong session right now. Let me find it real quick. And it is part of the certificate program in Hindu studies. So this course does apply for that certificate program where we're building, again, a structured organizational pathway so that you can develop your knowledge. Just give me a quick second. Let's take let me share this one testimonial real quick. Let me see if you can see this. Do you see, what is her name again? I have the video, it's great.
Tapasya, she's Tapasya.
From Australia.
All right, let me play this.
Namaste everyone.
Can you see it?
Haven't you always wondered whether there is proof that Ramayana is history and not mythology? Is it true that Bharat discovered a theory that was similar to the Big Bang Theory in the time of the Vedas? Well, these questions are answered beautifully by the university teachers Dr.D.K.Hema and Dr.D.K.Hari, who have been studying in this field for years, and have written volumes of books on their research. Both of them approach every question with enthusiasm. They have travelled all around the world to collate their research and are extremely passionate about their work. This is my 4th course with Dr.D.K.Hema and Dr.D.Hari, and they are open to any questions and are always willing to help, and you can also email them anytime during the week. We discuss how algebra, geometry, trigonometry, and calculus were all taught in Bharat, the periodic table, the infinity theory, and the creation of zero. These all just come under the category of maths. In previous courses, we've learned about gender equality in India and how in history we haven't been gender biased, as clearly portrayed in the divinity of Ardhanarishwara. We have discussed the Hindu timekeeping method, astronomy, and the calendar. The etymology of the word Bharat itself. Why does India have 2 names, Bharat and India? This is also covered in the courses. We've learned about trade between India and various other countries. water irrigation, hydraulic engineering, all these topics are covered in the courses. So join the next 10-week course today and discuss with like-minded students all over the world and uncover the myths and secrets of Bharat. Dhanyavadaha, Tapasya.
How great is that, right? And I'm a teacher myself. I'm actually an LAUSD substitute middle school teacher. So young people having this kind of engagement, interaction and development and encouragement and lifting up is so powerful. It's so important. I'm glad to be a part of this. Let me drop the details of the course in the chat. And you're doing 2 sessions, right? There's a USA batch and an Australia batch, 2 different time zones. So it's going to be
Right.
Saturday, Sunday, and then I think a long session on Sunday, right?
In the same time, all of them are about, we say 100 minutes, but then it goes even beyond with all the questions. But we'll be doing Saturday and Sunday, so twice a week for the US batch. So we finish the 10 sessions in 5 weeks, whereas for the Australia batch, we do once a week. So we do it over 10 weeks.
Because for them, it's not summer, it's winter for them, for Australians, while it's summer in US. So you have to play as needed in each continent. But this is, as she said, 5 weeks. We do in India time, IST 8:30 p.m. on Saturday night and 8:30 p.m. Sunday night, which is again Saturday morning and Sunday morning.
US time.
US time on the 4 time zones, which you can suitably accommodate. Okay, that's one. And here there's a question, I think one from Mr. Rajiv. There's a question. Mr. Rajiv, yes. What we deal with is obviously about not just India, but overall the Hindu land, the Hindu civilization, and it's spread global. As we said, see, the connect of is not limited to India. So, and for your young children in US, yes, it will have it will not be limited to only about a land India, no, because since the course is meant for Hindu University America, we'll be linking all these aspects to what will be relevant for the youth in USA.
But see, the reason we also stress on this geography of this civilization is, like you would have seen in the last couple of instances, when you talk about the civilization called Bharatiya civilization, the name Bharat has been influenced a lot by the geography as well of this land. When you say Bharat Varsha, so the words, the very names that are very common amongst the Hindus, a lot of it is influenced by geography. The ethos is influenced by geography, because what is your ethos all about? It comes from your culture. And where does your culture come from? Your culture is influenced by the topology and the geography where you live in. And you will find that the names that have been given to the geographical features of this land, the rivers, and how they have been treated and how they've been leveraged, they all influence the Hindu culture as such. And that becomes part of the ethos of the Hindus world over. So wherever they are, this kind of gives them an anchor to their culture. And that way it is important to, even though they may be physically disconnected from the Indian subcontinent, they may be living elsewhere, it does help to understand the reasons why certain things were approached in a particular manner.
Going on to the next question from, I think, Mr. Sushil Mishra. Yes, you have raised a very valid point. Thank you so much. Yes, all the points we'll be dealing with will be logical, rational, and with proofs. That's why the young girl, Tapasya, she's so aptly said, no, we take all these questions from the youngsters, listen to all of them, and answer each one of them in the class. It's not a monologue that we give. It's not even a dialogue. It's actually a multi-log, wherein we interact we encourage people to keep their videos and audios on and interact with every point. We go point by point, taking the questions and engaging the audience, especially youngsters. The youngsters get the first chance to question, and we'll be glad to answer them interacting, because it's only with the questions that you ask that day's course takes the shape. Because each time we do the course, it takes a fresh shape based on the questions you ask. So we'll be glad to take questions and answer these questions. So that's how, and it will all be as far as possible logical, rational, and scientific, with a questioning mind and an intent to answer. I hope I've answered your question, Shri Sushil Mishra ji, and we look forward to seeing you and your children in the course.
Great. So we got quite a few, I think, people who've taken the course before and can make a little comment or testimony of their own experience. We'll continue to take questions. There aren't too many more in the Q&A box. So how about, who do we have? We have Vanshika ji. Maybe you could share.
Yes, so I would just like to say that I've taken the course before, and I'm still taking one of the courses. And it was my experience that actually gave me a chance to get a job, like a legit job with in my CA field. Okay, so I was a CA aspirant, and I was working, like I was there for an interview. But then, since the interviewer, my bosses, they actually had like a conversation with me, and we were actually talking about Hindu studies. So it was not the interaction where they were asking me question, but it was more like I was giving them information, the true information. And I was once a student who did not like history at all, but then now I am a student who only want to learn history and deeper into it. So that's a big transformation, and that has helped me a lot. So that is about it. And if there is any teenager right now listening to me, trust me, I am a teenager and I am someone who did not like history. So this is a very big transformation for me, because I love their courses, I am enjoying their courses, and I wish it continues forever. So that is thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Vanshika ji. Thank you. It's lovely when your enthusiasm makes us spill more.
Bring out more. Yes.
Right. And
And
so,
thank you, Sri Vikram Sachanji, for your very nice comments. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
yeah. And so the cost is between $200 and $500. So each additional person that enrolls will cost only $100. Again, we want to make it conducive towards family participation. Everyone gets their own email address and their own homework assignments, the logins and all that stuff. But we make it more accessible so that a family can take it together, and really we can realize that intergenerational learning. Over the dinner table, you have something to talk about instead of maybe television and movies and sports, even though we could talk about all that stuff as well. But these kinds of conversations are so amazing. I don't see Rashmi, Nagendraji, or Devisha Seth. I do see Bikram Sachan, but he typed it out. And you got an old version of Zoom, Bikramji, so I can allow you to talk. Maybe and Bikramji said he was skeptical of registering for the course in the beginning, but once he took the course, it changed his mind. Bikramji has been on board. He's made testimonials. He's a solid supporter, and glad that you took the course. And he says you will be glad that you took the course too. I have another longer testimonial. Do I want to read that? Do we have other questions coming up? I don't have any other Q&A.
Mr. Anku, probably you could mention about how for Indians there is, and for people from the Girmitya countries, there is discount APAC, Girmitya, and Indians. There are suitable, relevant scholarships for them.
Yeah, let me drop it into the chat. We have scholarships depending on your country of where you are at, because we know it is not the same cost of living. Scholarships available here. Putting that in the chat. See if you qualify, and even if you don't according to this, just send us an email follow-up. We do have people who donate to make courses available, and actually there's so many people who want people that take your courses in particular that they pay it forward. They took the course, they enjoyed it so much, they put up a kind of a scholarship fund, and if people are having hardship and are interested, we can facilitate that. So you can click this link right here. Scholarships are available. Fill it out, let us know, and we'd love to have you join this course and make it easy for you to do so. So that's a good little reminder there. Thank you for that. And we're just at the top of the hour now. We'll continue to take questions as is the MO, the modus operandi. We take the questions until there are none. And we try to make it interactive as much as we can. So thank you everyone for being with us so far on this webinar on exploring Hinduism for teens and parents, specifically for the geography and history course that Dr. D.K.Hari and Dr. Hema Hari are teaching at HUA over the summer.
Yeah, and there's a question from one Mr. Biswas. Obviously, if it's from Bangladesh, he automatically qualifies for the scholarship program because he's from the Indian subcontinent. Yes, you're welcome. You could write to the university or you could write to us and be glad to guide you and to take the scholarship. Yes, Mr. Biswas, you're certainly welcome.
Yeah,
Actually, if you go to the web page itself, there will be a link to claim a coupon code. And with that, you will get the scholarship for coming from the Indian subcontinent and other
If you
things.
could,
Mr. Screen. So this link right here.
Sonali Biswas, if you could share your email ID, it would be nice for us to respond to you.
He's sharing.
So I dropped the link in the chat and I'll do it again. info.hua.edu scholarships. It's right up there. And you just fill out this form, your name, your last name, city, and then all of these countries in Greater Bharat Sampan, right? India, Nepal, Sri Lanka, Myanmar, Afghanistan, Bangladesh, Pakistan, Malaysia, and Indonesia, your Mithya countries, Mauritius, Seychelles, South Africa, Fiji, Suriname, Jamaica. And we've done webinars on this, right? The diaspora, the indentured servitude that our ancestors had to overcome, and the contributions we have made around the world, the Hindu contributions to the world, the other series of courses that the Haris are teaching. And we talk about it. What are we building here? We are building an institution that is going to last 1,000 years, because that is what the Hindu diaspora, the community, the civilization needs. And we're just getting started. So please enroll, donate, support, just follow us on social media, get involved with the conversation. This is how I express my Hindutva, right? My Hinduness is in this kind of work. And it's the paradigm of knowledge, right? It's the paradigm of uplifting. So again, I'm just glad to be a part of it. And the Haris are amazing faculty to have. So we have a couple more questions coming in. Oh, yeah, Sunilji will follow up. Anybody else in the chat? Not really yet. So Dr. Hari, maybe you want some takeaways, other things that you want to leave the folks with. And if we don't get any more questions, we can kind of, of course, sure. I got the poll. Let me launch the poll. So are you interested in taking the course, Exploring Hinduism for Teens and Parents in summer 22? Just let us know, yes or maybe. Again, we have the 2 sessions. We have the 5-week session and then a 10-week session. So there's a little bit of, choice in terms of your time zone, what works for your schedule, what works for your kids' schedule. And that's why we wanted to do this webinar a little early in May. So as summer rolls around, you can plan in advance and students can enroll so that they have something intellectually stimulating and engaging to do over the summer or winter, depending on where you are at. Yeah. All right. And are there any other previous students who may want to share? If you want to just raise your hand in the participant window, I can do it. Dr. Seshaji says you get 2 wonderful, passionate teachers for the price of 1. Yes, that is, I like that line because you can see it, how they interact with each other, they build, it creates a very interesting dynamic, right? The multi-dialogue, not just a dialogue or a mono-dialogue, like the sage on a stage is trying to talk at you, but the real interaction. And that's, part of the methodology, right? That's the pedagogy, the dialogue, the guru, shiksha, the teacher-student relationship. And the respect both ways, that must be part of it. So back to you.
Thank you for mentioning that, Shankur Patelji, because we are very clear that the learning can happen, as you correctly said, through the idea of the Guru Sishya Acharya, that is by questioning. Because it's only in the Indian thought, the Hindu civilizational thought, is questioning allowed. And we both learn by questioning. Whereas in other world thoughts, questioning is not allowed. What is told to you as scriptures has to be accepted without questioning. It's only here It's question everything and then check everything. So that is what it is, and that's what we believe in happily. And that is why we are able to interact with so many students through this course, question every aspect of it, and only if it is rationally, scientifically, logically right and in sync with nature. It has to be in synchronization with nature, with Prakriti. Only then it is part of our civilizational ethos thought. That is what we look at very clearly. And as Buddha himself said, Buddha, the great man that Buddha, what did he say? Don't accept what I say. The way goldsmith will test the gold in his touchstone to see if it's the quality of the gold. Like that, what I say, check. Like that, in the way the great Buddha has himself said 3,000 years ago, we are also saying what we bring forth, the points, it's for you to take it further from there on, check on it. And because there was a question earlier by one other friend here, is it rational, logical? Yes, absolutely. There's a lot of questioning, interaction that happens, and that's how we think it should be. Thank you so much, Dr. Ravi Pathakji. And I thank you for your nice words. There was no point in what kind of assignment. This is from Sai M. Will the students and what is the time commitment expected? So, Sai ji, see, the course as such is about what? 90 to 100 minutes on Saturday. And if you're in the US, this course is twice a week. So finish in 5 weeks instead of 10 weeks, because to sort of bring it into this summer schedule of the holidays of children. So it's Saturdays and Sundays, 100 minutes each. And apart from this, another 90 to 100 minutes, you could read the reading material and viewing the films. Like we showed you one sample film today. I think we showed 2 films like that. There are a lot of films for you to watch, which again, you can watch at your leisure. You can watch those films. They are available there. And the reading material is there for you for long-term basis to use, even after the course is over. And 30 days after when the course is over, our assignments are open for you to fill them up at your earliest convenience.
And the assignments are fundamentally, there are just simple quizzes that for the 10 sessions, there will be different sets of quizzes, sometimes clubbed for 2 or 3 sessions together, and multiple choice questions, so simple quizzes. And there are diary logs that you have to maintain, and you fill in fundamentally to capture what you learned in the class that day. That's all. So these are the kind of assignments. It's not very demanding. The idea is to encourage you to ask more questions, read and watch the films, and imbibe and experience this knowledge for yourself. That is the main point here.
Great.
Hope that has answered your question. Any other question, we'll be happy.
Okay, I think that
Beauty is all of this is open to you for once you become a HUA student, then irrespective of whichever course you take, all the courses that you have done in the past, they all stay open for you for accessing throughout the time that your HUA ID is valid, and which is a lifetime ID that you get with HUA. So you have access to all this material that's put up, the films, the class recordings, the video, the course sessions are recorded and the video recordings are put up. So you can keep watching it n number of times during the course, after the course, anytime. Sorry, Ankuji, you were saying something.
No, that was perfect. That was exactly where I was going with this. And kind of on closing thoughts, right? What else would you like to just leave our participants with? And again, always appreciative of you and your presentations and the knowledge you're sharing. I know everyone is. Thank you. Dhanyawad.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We are just waiting to meet all of them in the course and share all this exciting knowledge. I mean,
we look forward to interacting with all the students in the upcoming course. Thank you so much for giving this opportunity to be with all of you here. Thank you. Namaste.
Thank you.
Great. All right, so I'll just play a little bit of music. I'll put the slideshow on in case you want to take any of the information from the chat or some of the contact information from the PowerPoint. So little different that we're going to end the webinar on, just trying to make sure that people can pull information. And if you want to leave a message or just ask something, we'll make sure that you can do that. So Dhanyawad, thank you everyone for participating. As always, it's a pleasure to be here with you. Namaste. right. Thank you again for being on. Have a good rest of your day. Bye-bye. Dhanyawad.